introductory episode, we took a look at how you're going to be scored on the ACT writing portion. In this episode, we're going to talk about what that actual scoring guide looks like. So if you go to the ACT website and look under scoring guidelines for the writing test, you're going to see something that looks like this. And there's a lot of language here. You'll see a nice description, paragraph long, of what it takes to get a 6, which we discussed was the highest score, all the way down here to a 1. All right, so this is a lot of text. It's a little bit difficult for me to read. So what I did was go through these and boil the scoring down to 7 main indicators. If we take a look at those, that will make it a little bit easier to understand how you're going to be scored. If you want to see these indicators broken down into the scoring guide, go to the bonus materials and print out the ACT writing broken down chart. In this episode, we're going to talk about each of these. So we're going to talk about how you'll be scored on understanding the task, your position, the complexity of your argument, how you develop it, how you organize what you're going to say, and then finally the sentence and word choice and the grammar. The first thing that the scores of your ACT writing test are going to be looking for is to see that you understand the prompt. That means that you have addressed the entire prompt, that you've shown an understanding of the issue at hand, and that you've discussed the issue in a proper context, or in other words, picked up on all the crucial details of the actual prompt. So what I want you guys to do now is go to the bonus materials and print out sample prompt number 1. All right. If you read through sample prompt number 1, you'll see the issue that it's dealing with is cutting arts and music programs in a time of budget cuts in a school district. So when you address this prompt, what the scores are going to be looking to see is that you've addressed the entire prompt, that you've talked about the budget cuts, that you've talked about the fact that the crunch is coming because of scores on standardized tests, that you've talked about the benefits and the disadvantages of cutting music and arts programs. So you've got to make sure that you attack every single part of that and that you mention it so that they see that you've really closely read the prompt. The next thing that you want to make sure that you do is acknowledge 2 sides of the issue. So show an understanding of it. Really show sympathy for both sides. Show an understanding of why one group of people would want to cut arts programs and why one group would want to keep them. And then finally, the big thing that you want to make sure you include is the proper context. And the big context for this prompt is that it's a time of budget cuts. So obviously nobody wants to cut arts and music programs if they don't have to. So it's really important when you address this prompt that you would talk about the context of it being a tough economy and there being budget cuts there. So once you've shown an understanding of the prompt, what you're going to want to make sure you do is take that position. And we've talked about that. So the big things here are to agree or disagree with what they've been presenting, and also to provide reasoning. So yes, I agree, and I agree because, or I disagree because. Let's take a look at some position statements that you might see and talk about why some are good and why some are bad. Let's look at the bottom. This one earned a 2. Let's see if you can decide why. I think that some arts and music programs help students, so depending on the school, maybe they should be kept. All right, so the first thing I'm noticing is a lot of ambiguous language, right? Maybe, depending on, some. Basically, the reason that this one scored so low is it doesn't take a position. And in a position statement, the big thing is take a position. So you've got to come down on one side of the fence or the other. The mid-range one, the one that earned a 4, is music and arts programs are beneficial. All schools should keep them. Well, here we've got a strong position, right? They're beneficial, we should keep them, but we're lacking that second component.